school, and you know who's there. Who should be out on the street? It's the old Serbian war criminal again. You know, he's out in Serbia, he hasn't raped anyone for years. What's he gonna do? Oh, look, there's a victim. Next thing you see, she's tied up in his basement with her hands are tied by a phone cord, which shows you that it's fiction, because who has a phone cord? So she's got the phone cord here, she's got a blindfold over her eyes, she's got duct tape over her mouth, so all we hear is, and it's these horrible noises. And then the next thing you see is his hand is reaching between her thighs, and then cut to a commercial, because that's the really good part, right? And that's just entertainment. So then I watched CSI. CSI has, I can't even tell you the plot because I'm too old to figure these things out, but there's something with somebody ended up in a swamp and they're dead and they pull them out and there's the maggots and the maggots tell you how old it is, but then in the meantime somebody has a key, that they need the key, they can't get the key, they slice the guy open, they get the key, good. Then it's time to go to a bathroom and there's a lady and she's being dunked in the bathtub and they're trying to drown her. The same noise, they can use the same sound, right? Can't get her, and finally somehow she's not drowned, and you're going, but she's so disoriented, she goes like this, and she, just like that, without a sound. She impales her breast on a towel hook. Okay, I mean, I hate it when that happens, you know? You get out of the shower, you just went, oh my God, the blood, it's just terrible. So she's dead, but not from drowning, so they've come up with a little twist, and this is the stuff that you see 24/7 on television. And I spoke to the television historian Robert Thompson at Syracuse, who we call the quote machine, those of us in journalism, because we always quote him. And he said that there is not one single episode of Law and Order that could have even been shown on television before 1981. It is so graphic with the rape and the thighs and the gagging and the eviscerating that this was the stuff that used to be called a snuff film. You would see it at like a bachelor party, a really gross, raunchy bachelor party. They would show something like this, and now it's just like, what's that? Law and Order, Law and Order, Law and Order. Oh, CSI, Law and Order. And it's just taken over our brains, and our brains work like Google, unfortunately, or Google actually figured out how to work like our brains, which is why they're making so much money. Whenever you're thinking of something now, like, gee, can my child wait alone at the bus stop? Or, gee, can I take a shower without hurting myself? Whatever it is, the first picture that pops into your mind is often the most graphic, gruesome one, because that's the one that seared itself on your brain. And then, like Google, your brain says, well, it came up first, it must be happening all the time. You know, I'll click this one. So you really get the wrong idea of what the world is like. And when I was asking once, I was just begging my readers on the blog, I was like, how can I explain this? When I tell people, like on the radio, you know, somebody will interview me and I'll say, well, actually, our children are pretty safe. They'll say, how can you say this? We're hearing about abductions all the time. We're hearing about the same abductions all the time. We've been hearing about Eitan Pats for 30 years. We're going to hear about J.C. Dugard for many more. And as horrifying and as sad as they are, they're on the news because they are newsworthy. They are unusual. But with the Google brain, it comes up feeling like we are in danger 24/7. So the first reason we're so nervous is the media. But there are three more. Two is the fact that we live in a litigious society. How does that impact parenting? Well, like this. Right before Christmas last year, Little Tykes, which has been making these little workbench toys forever and ever, recalled 1.6 million of their workbench toys that they've been selling since 1994. Why? One child almost choked to death on a nail. And when I first read the first paragraph of this article, I thought, well, you know, that's really strange that Little Tykes is selling a workbench filled with nails. I mean, that does seem like a bad idea. Have they not watched like television in the last 4 years? But then I read a little further, and it turned out that the nail was basically like this. It was plastic, 3.5 inches by 1.5 inches. So then I went around my house. I'm like, so that's the size of let's see, half a banana, a ho-ho. Curlers, it just like, so they were suddenly recalling all of these toys that had not killed anybody, and in fact had not even killed the guy that they were worried about, that they had been selling for 15 years successfully and allowing children to play like they were at a workbench, but this was so dangerous that they had to recall it. And that's the way we started to think. We started to think like lawyers, that anything that could possibly, maybe 1 in a million or 1.6 million times be dangerous, we better get rid of. And so what happens? My son's school, they are not allowed to play tag. They are allowed to run around the perimeter of the playground at recess time, but they're not allowed to chase each other, and they're not allowed to play anywhere except there. So there's no running because a kid could get hurt. Playgrounds are getting rid of the tall slides. A kid could fall. The merry-go-round, a kid could get hit. Swings, I mean, there's just, things are getting pulled away as we think ahead to what might happen. My kids' school, they have a nature overnight for the 5th graders. And we all went to our little meeting about like what's going to happen, and everyone, how are we going to get a hold of them, and what about the phones, and what about the security, and this and that. And finally, the assistant principal, to distract us, said, the nicest thing is at night, right before they go to bed, we have a bonfire. Ah! Oh, what? We're my children? Oh, what? And he's like, no, don't worry. The fire's here, but the children sit 25 feet back, and there are benches between them. I'm thinking, benches? Like benches don't catch on fire? There's a row of benches between them and the fire. And I'm thinking, your Hershey bar wouldn't melt between there and the fire. But we think like lawyers, and we just eviscerate childhood to the point where nothing seems safe enough. Reason number 3 that our parents, or that we are more afraid, is this culture of expertise, and we've dealt with that a little bit here, which is that there's a right way to raise your kid, which you're probably not doing, and then there's a wrong way that will turn them into an idiot or a flubber blubber, slow kid, never goes to Harvard person, and it starts the second you get the little pregnancy thing back and it says, yes, you're having a flubber blubber, or yes, you're going to have a Harvard child if you do this. So you read your what to expect when you're expecting, and they tell you that, let's see, each bite during the day is an opportunity to feed that growing baby of yours healthy nutrients. Not each day, not each meal, each bite, okay? With that bite, what do you get if you eat each bite absolutely correctly? Well, you get better birth weight, improved brain development, lower risk for certain birth defects, ... So God forbid you have so little spine that ho-ho that was going to choke your older child, instead you shove in your own mouth. All bets are off for your kid because you have not been eating the quinoa that we expected you to eat. So you screwed it up. It's your problem. And then there are books. I see. Oh my God, 10 minutes. I'm really blabbering on. There are books also on how to talk to your kids, and you have to tell them. You can't say that's a good picture, because that inflates their ego and they're never going to try again and they're just going to float through school and drop out. But you can't say, that's a terrible picture, I can't tell if it's a dog or the sun, because that